Good evening, guys. In the last session, we discussed about what is data JPA. So in every application, we will have a presentation layer, and we will have the web layer, and we will have the persistence layer. Spring Data JPA is used to develop persistence layer in our applications. And this Spring Data JPA providing ready-made methods to perform CRUD operations in the database tables. JPA providing two interfaces mainly. One is a CRUD repository, another one is JPA repository. JPA repository is equal to CRUD repository plus pagination methods plus sorting methods. Now, so JPA terminology, first one is data source object, second one is entity class, third one is repository interface and repository methods. Entity class. So the Java class which is mapped to database table, that is called as entity class. So to represent our Java class as an entity class, we are using @entity annotation. To map our class with the table, we are using @table annotation. All right, integer ID, string name, long rank, string gender. These variables are mapping to a database table. And to perform the operations with the table, we will be using this repository. So JPA provided the repository interface. We need to extend the properties from the repository. Then it will provide the methods to perform our CRUD operations. So what are the methods available to perform the operations? Save method, save all method, find by ID, find all by ID, find all, count, exist by ID, delete by ID, delete all by ID, delete all. Like that, there are several methods available. So did you guys develop the first application by using data JPA? Did you guys develop the first application by using data JPA? I gave the video link. Are you able to develop the first application using data JPA? How many of you able to develop? Not yet. Okay. Let me go and develop our first application, guys. So here I'm going to use MySQL database. MySQL Workbench is available in my machine. MySQL Workbench I'm using to connect with this MySQL database. Okay. Now here I want to connect with my database. I'm connecting with my database. Okay. So create table is available now here. We can see that what are the databases available in this show databases. Show databases will tell me what all the databases that are available in this MySQL. So SBMS is one database which is available. Use SBMS, Spring Boot microservice. I'm using the database in that show tables. So what are the tables available in the database? So there are so many tables available in that database. Okay. Now I want to create another database. Let me create a database. Create database SBMS 27. So that is my database name I am using. Now use this database, use SBMS 27. This is our batch database. Use SBMS 27. Now perfect. Let me go for a command called show tables. In this database, what are the tables available? SBMS 27 is our database name. No tables are available in this database. Now we need to develop our application which will communicate with the database to insert a record into table. Okay. So first, let us see how to create our application by using data JPA. First application development using data JPA. I'm using MySQL database, guys. First application development using Spring Data JPA. Now create the Spring Boot application with the below dependencies. So I'm going to create my Spring Boot application. Create Spring Starter project with the below dependencies. Create Spring Starter project with the below dependencies. So what are the dependencies? I'm going to use Spring Boot Starter Data JPA. Spring Boot Starter Data JPA, and I will be using MySQL connector. MySQL connector. These are the two dependencies that I'm adding. Starter data JPA to communicate with the database, and here MySQL connector, this dependency will provide the driver to communicate with the MySQL database. Then next one, we are going to create entity class, create entity class and map with database table. Create entity class and map with the DB table using annotations. As we discussed, we are going to map our Java class with the database table by using annotations. Then create repository interface. Create repository interface to perform CRUD operations. Create repository interface to perform CRUD operations. Then fourth one, use CRUD operation, use repository methods to perform CRUD operations, that we can do it. Now, so the fourth one is configure data source properties. Configure data source properties in application.yml file. Either you can use a properties file or you can use YML file. We know already what is properties and YML. I'm going to use YML file. So run the application and test the functionality. Run the application and test the functionality. Good. Create Spring Starter project with below dependencies: starter data JPA, MySQL connector. Create entity class and map with DB table using annotations. Create repository interface to perform CRUD operations. Configure data source properties in application.yml. Run the application and test the functionality. So these are the steps we need to follow to develop our first application by using data JPA. Are you guys clear? Are you guys clear with these steps now? Yes, perfect. Now go and create the project, guys. File, new, Spring Starter project. So I'm going to give this project name as 08 data JPA app 1. Click on next, dependencies. So I need to select data JPA dependency first. Spring data JPA dependency I'm selecting, and I will be selecting MySQL driver. Two dependencies I'm selecting, MySQL connector, or I can say MySQL driver. Starter data JPA and MySQL driver, these are the two dependencies I have added. Click on next and click on finish. So with this, my project got created. With this, my project got created. Now let me create one entity class. So we know what is entity. The Java class which is mapped with the database table is called as entity class. Okay, let me create one class, new class student. I'm keeping that class inside the entity package. I'm taking the class name as a student. All right. So represent this class name as entity by using @entity annotation. Now, @entity annotation. Now I'm writing @table to map this class with a particular table name. I'm giving the table name as student details. If I don't write @table, then by default that table name also will become student only. Class name will be considered as a table name if I don't write it. Guys, observe, all these annotations are coming from JavaX persistence API. Okay, public class student. Student class I'm representing as entity class. Student class I want to map with student details table. Now here, let me take private integer student ID and private string, or else simply I can keep it as ID, name and rank. ID, name and rank. And private string gender. Private string gender. So like this, I'm writing one class. Now here ID I want to represent as a primary key. To represent the ID as a primary key, I will giving @ID annotation. Writing the column annotation is optional, guys. If you don't write the column annotation, it will consider this variable name as a column name. Now I need to write setters, getters for these variables to set the data and get the data. Right click, source, generate, getters and setters. Entity class is having some variables. For these variables, I'm going to generate setters and getters. So select all, generate. Now for this entity class, setters and getters got generated. So now I have my entity ready. If you want, you can write the column. If you don't want, you can ignore. It's not mandatory, guys. As I told you, writing the column annotation is not mandatory. If you want to map it to a different column name, then you can write it. Student ID, student name, student rank, like this. Student ID, student name, and student rank, student gender. If you don't write the column name, variable name will become column name. If you don't write @table, class name will become table name. Are you guys getting my point? How I am writing entity class? So @table is a mandatory or it is optional? Guys, @table annotation is mandatory or it is optional? @table is optional. If I don't write @table annotation, then what will happen? If I don't write @table annotation, then what will happen? We'll take the class name as a table name. @column annotation is mandatory or it is also optional? Column annotation is also optional. If you don't write the column annotation, it will consider the variable name as a column name. So with this, my entity class is ready and I am using setters and getters. If you don't want to use the setters and getters, then you can go for project Lombok. If you don't want to use these getters and setters, then you can go for project Lombok. Okay, guys, perfect. Entity is ready. Next up, I need to create repository interface. Create the repository interface to perform CRUD operations. So JPA provided the repository interface. By extending the properties from that, we can create our repository interface. Now in ashokit.repository, student repository. So it is a normal repository. I'm extending the properties from CRUD repository. I have a student entity. I'm passing that. What is the data type of the primary key? It is a integer. So this is my repository. So my interface extending the properties from CRUD repository. My interface is extending the properties from CRUD repository. Am I writing any logic here or I'm not writing any logic here? Am I writing any logic here? I'm not writing any logic here. I'm not writing any logic here. I'm not writing any logic here. I'm just extending the properties from CRUD repository. That's it. Now go to application.properties file. We need to configure data source properties. So how to configure data source properties? Spring.datasource.url with which database? Spring.datasource.username with which database? What is the username? Spring.datasource.password. Okay. Spring.datasource.driver class. Spring.datasource.driver class name. Okay. So URL, which is JDBC colon MySQL colon localhost colon 3306 colon SBMS 27. That is my MySQL database URL. This is my database name. So username, the username is ashokit and the password is ashokit@123. Driver class name com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. So this is the driver class for MySQL database. This is my database password and this is my database username. Okay, guys, let me recheck it. My database password is correct or not? My database password, 1 minute. Connection factory. Where is that file available? Let me check it. DB properties. Yeah. ashokit is the username. ashokit@123 is the password. So perfect. I'm able to configure my data source properties. So if you don't want to use this properties file, simply you can right click and you can convert the properties file to YML file. Now, if you see here, my data source properties are configured inside the YML. Spring.datasource.driver class name, spring.datasource.password, spring.datasource.url, spring.datasource.username. Like this, I'm able to configure my username and password. Are you guys clear? Student.java is available. This is the entity class, which is used to map with the database table. Student repository is available. Repository extending from the CRUD repository. And for this repository, I'm telling this repository should use which entity? Student entity. And what is the primary key of that entity? Primary key is an integer. Student represents this repository belongs to this entity. Integer represents the data type of the primary key in our entity. And application.yml, I'm configuring my data source properties. With which database our application should connect? With which database our application should connect? I'm configuring that in the application.yml file. Are you guys clear? Are you guys clear with my point? No. Come on. Perfect. Now, I want to insert one record to test this functionality. Before going to insert this, let me get the bean object. So I want to, this is standalone application or web application, guys? This is a standalone application or this is a web application now? Standalone only. IOC container is available. So can you tell me, how can I get the reference of the IOC container? Can you guys tell me, how can I get the reference of the IOC container? Run method return type. Run method return type is called as reference of the IOC container. Let me get that return type. Configurable application context. Okay. Spring application.run method, it is returning configurable application context. Okay. Run method, it is returning configurable application context. Configurable application context is available. Now here I'm going for context.getBean of student repository dot class. Okay, context.getBean of student repository dot class. Okay, I got the student repository object. Guys, tell me, student repository is a class or student repository is an interface? Student repository is a class, student repository is an interface, student repository is an interface. So when I call context.getBean of student repository dot class, IOC will create the object for the interface, or IOC will create the object for implementation class of the interface. Come on, guys. IOC is going to create the object for the interface. Huh? Can we create the object for the interface in the Java? Can we create object for the interface in the Java? No, it's not possible. Then how I am getting the object from the IOC for the student repository? Let's see that. System.out.println. Are we getting student repository object or we are getting implementation class object? We can get that. Okay. Now I'm trying to store the run method return type into a variable which is called configurable application context. Then I'm writing context.getBean, which is giving student repository dot class, So once I got the student repository, before inserting, I want to check it. Student repository is a interface. Which object it is holding? For the interface, which object it is creating? Am I writing the implementation class for the interface, or I'm not writing the implementation class for the interface? Am I writing the implementation class for the interface, or I'm not writing the implementation class for the interface? I'm not writing. Run this application. Run as boot application. See the console. See what is the output it is printing. Student repository variable holding which class object we will understand now. Student repository object holding which class object we will understand now. Application is starting. Give it a minute. Yeah, it started. Hikari data source it is using. It is internally creating the Hikari data source object. What is the implementation class object it is printing? So we are writing the implementation class, or internally JPA providing the implementation class. Do we need to provide the implementation for the interface, or JPA will provide the implementation for the interface? JPA will provide the implementation for the interface. Okay. Now, can you check this one? Finished Spring Data JPA repository scanning in the 58 milliseconds, found one JPA repository interface in the project. That means whenever we have data JPA dependency in the build path, it will bootstrap the data JPA repositories. It will scan our project. It will find the JPA repository interfaces available in the project. If our interface is implementing CRUD repository or JPA repository, those repositories will be bootstrapped. Those repositories will be loaded by Spring Data JPA will provide implementation for those repositories. We no need to write the implementation for those repositories. Are you guys getting my point? So here, when my IOC container, when my application is started, it is going to bootstrap. This is called opinionated configuration, guys. This is called as opinionated configuration. Earlier, when I developed our application, when I developed our Spring Boot application, did we see that JPA repositories are scanned? Is that message coming on the console earlier? Earlier, did we get this message on the console? Bootstrapping the JPA repositories, found one JPA repository. So earlier, our Spring Boot application performed these operations. Earlier, did we see that Hikari pool created? These messages are available or not earlier? Not available. Why? Because at that time, JPA dependency not available in the build path. Whenever we add the JPA dependency in the build path, then Boot understood that, okay, this person developing the application by using JPA, we need to identify the JPA repositories. We need to create the connection pool. For the connection pool, we need to use the Hikari. So that maturity is available for the Spring Boot. That's why Spring Boot is called as very powerful framework. And Spring Boot is having opinionated configuration. That means based on the starters available in the pom.xml, it is deciding what is required for the programmer and it is providing that. That is called as auto configuration. Do I need to get the connection from the database, or this data JPA created the connection pool for me? Guys, do I need to create the connection pool, or data JPA created the connection pool for me? Do I need to create the connection pool, or data JPA will create the connection pool for me? Data JPA will create the connection pool for me. Data JPA will create the connection pool for me. We no need to do that. We no need to do that. Data JPA will do that. Which connection pool using by data JPA internally? Can you check the console and can you tell me which connection pool the data JPA using internally? What is the default connection pool that used in the data JPA? What is the default connection pool that used in the data JPA? Hikari connection pool. What is the connection pool, guys? Hikari connection pool it is using internally. Understood my point? Understood my point? Very good. Perfect. Now, so you understand, right? Whenever we create a repository, implementation class is created in the runtime by data JPA. Do we need to implement this interface, or data JPA will implement this interface? Do we need to implement this interface, or data JPA will implement this interface? Guys, come on. Do we need to implement this interface, or data JPA will implement this interface? data JPA will implement this interface. Whenever we are writing data JPA repositories, writing @repository annotation is also optional. Even if you don't write it, it will be considered as a Spring Bean only because it is extending from CRUD repository. So writing @repository annotation is also optional. Writing @repository annotation is also optional when you are extending the properties from CRUD repository. So whenever the project is started, if you observe, whenever the project is started, the data JPA dependency is scanning the project and it is identifying that all the dependencies which are available in the project, and it identified that there is one data JPA repository available in the project. There is one data JPA repository available in the project, and that data JPA is requiring the connection. So it is creating that connection pool. Internally, it is using Hikari connection pool. Internally, it is using Hikari connection pool. Are you guys getting my point? Now, so here for data JPA, object is creating for the repository, object is creating for the implementation class of the repository interface. Object is creating for the interface, object is creating for the implementation class. Implementation class. Who is providing that implementation class? Who is providing that implementation class? Programmer is writing the implementation class, or data JPA providing the implementation class? Data JPA providing that implementation class. Are you guys clear? Are you guys clear? Now, by using this repository, can I call the methods of the CRUD repository? Can I say my repository acting as a child for the CRUD repository? Can I say my repository is acting as a child for the CRUD repository? Yes. Now go to CRUD repository. This is public interface CRUD repository. CRUD repository is again extending the properties from repository. Okay. Our repository here, whatever the repository that I have created, student repository. Student repository extending the properties from CRUD repository. CRUD repository extending the properties from repository. Okay, guys. There is a repository and CRUD repository, and here we have student repository. Repository, CRUD repository, and student repository. This is our repository interface. This is our CRUD repository interface. This is our student repository interface. Student repository extending from CRUD repository extending from repository. In the CRUD repository, we have methods here. We have methods in the CRUD repository. Are you guys clear with my point? We have methods in the CRUD repository. Can I access CRUD repository methods by using student repository? Come on, guys. Can I access CRUD repository methods by using student repository? How come? Because student repository is extending the properties from CRUD repository. CRUD repository extending the properties from repository. Student repository extending from the CRUD repository extending from the repository. Are you guys clear with my point? Are you guys clear with my point? Right. Now, CRUD repository having save method. CRUD repository having save all method. We discuss find by ID, exist by ID, find all by ID. Okay. Count method, delete by ID, delete method is available, delete all by ID, delete all. Like that, there are several methods available in the CRUD repository. Now, let's go here. I want to insert one record. I got the student repository object. Student repository is an interface. For that interface, implementation class will be created in the runtime, and we are able to print that class name also. It is printing the class name as a proxy. Internally, a proxy class is created by data JPA for our interface. Now, so component scanning is doing by IOC container, Our component scanning is doing by data JPA for the repository interfaces. Guys, tell me, IOC container doing that component scanning for the repositories, or data JPA doing that component scanning? Data JPA, not IOC, not IOC. It is a data JPA concept. Who is scanning our repository interfaces available in the project? Guys, who is scanning our repository interfaces available in the project? Data JPA is scanning. When it is doing that scanning? When it is doing that scanning? When the application started. So how my project understood that it has to scan for the repositories? How my project understood that it has to scan for the repositories? Can you guys tell me? How this project understood that it has to scan for the repositories? How it identified that it has to scan for the repository interfaces? Come on, guys. Are you clear with my point? Are you clear with my point? When the data JPA dependency available in the pom.xml, then it is going to scan for the repositories. How many repositories are found? It will print that count on the console. And for those repositories, it is providing the implementation also. All these things I have explained in the video. Some people watched it, some people did not watch it. So when I ask you to watch some video, that is important. Please do that. If you have watched that video today, you will get more clarity on this session. Some people watched it, some people did not watch. Everything I explained in that video. I'm just repeating the same thing. Okay, guys. Perfect. Now, I want to insert a record into the table by using my repository. Already I got the repository object. I want to insert that record. So which method is available to insert the record, guys? In the last session, we discussed about methods, right? Which method is available to insert the record? What is the method? Save method is available to insert that record. Okay. Student repo dot save. It is expecting entity. Can you tell me what is entity? Can you guys tell me what is entity? Guys, come on. Can you tell me what is entity? Come on, guys. What is entity? The Java class which is mapped to database table, that is called as entity class. The Java class which is mapped to database table, that is called entity class. So let me set the data. Student S is equal to new student. I'm creating student object. Now student dot set ID. I'm setting the ID as a 101. S dot set to name. I'm setting some name as Raja. Okay. S dot set rank. I'm setting the rank as 1, 2, 3, 4. Like this. Long value. Now I'm passing that student report dot save of yes. Finally, I'm writing system.out.println record inserted. system.out.println record inserted. System.out.println record inserted. Are you guys able to follow this? Are you guys able to follow this? I'm calling save method. For save method, I'm giving the entity object. So when I call repository.save of yes, yes is what? Student object. It is belongs to student table. So when I call the repository.save, that means I want to insert one record into database table. I want to insert one record into database table. Student repository.save of yes. I want to insert one record into database table. So repository is already know that it is using student object. Student object already know that it is mapped to student details table. Now database properties already I have configured in the application.yml file. Okay. Now let's go to the database, check show tables. Do we have any table in the database? No table available in the database. All right. Let's run this application, run as boot application. From the start class, I'm creating the object for the student. I'm storing the data and I'm trying to insert the record by using object. It is failed. Let us check this. We got some error. Okay. The error is table is not available in the database. I'm trying to insert a record into the table, but the table is not available in the database. Student details table does not exist in the database. Are you guys clear with my point? SBMS 27.student details, the table does not exist. So do you want to create the table or we want JPA to create the table? Do you want to create the table or you want JPA to create the table? Do you want to create the table or we want JPA to create the tables? Come on, guys. Do you want to create the table or you want JPA to create the table? We want JPA to create the table. We want JPA to create the table. So do you know how to create the JPA to, how to tell to JPA to create the tables? Do you know how to ask JPA to create the table? By using DDL auto, spring dot JPA dot DDL auto. Spring.jpa.hibernate.ddl auto. I'm giving the option as update. Update means if the table is not available, create the table. If the table is already available, use the table. So I'm giving DDL auto, that is called auto DDL. Spring.jpa.hibernate.ddl auto. I'm giving this property with update. So if the table is not available, it will create the table, it will insert the record. If the table is already available, it will use the existing table to perform the operation. Okay, guys, good, perfect. Now run this application once again. Before running that, check the tables, show tables, no tables available here. Now run the application, run as boot application. My application started. It is scanning for repositories. One repository found, it implemented that repository. It created the connection pool also. My application started. We are seeing that message record inserted. My application started, the record inserted. Okay, go to database, show tables. Wow, student details table is created. Then let's go for select star from student details. Let's go for select star from student details. Can we see one record is inserted? I did not set the gender. I set student ID, student name, student rank. One record is inserted. Okay. So table I have created, JPA created. Table I have created or JPA created that table. Come on, guys. JPA created that table. But whatever the queries are executed by JPA, are we able to see those queries on the console? Queries are printing on the console. Queries are not printing on the console. Queries are not printing on the console. Can we print those queries on the console? Spring.jpa. Show SQL property will be available. Spring.jpa. Show SQL is equal to true. Now, what is the purpose of show SQL? Show SQL true means it will print queries on the console. It will print queries on the console. Are you clear? Now, let me insert one more record. Let me insert one more record. Go to the start class. Inside the start class, I'm setting the data. Let me set the ID as 102 and name as Rani, rank as some different value 3214, and gender set dot s dot set gender. I'm setting the gender as female. Perfect. Earlier I inserted Raja record. Now I am inserting Rani record. As ID is a primary key, it should be unique value. 101 is already available. Now I am setting the ID as 102. Save this. Right click. Run as boot application. I'm right clicking and I'm running this application. Guys, see, directly it executed insert query or it executed select query first. Why it is executing select query first? Why it is executing select query first? After executing select query, then it executed insert query. Why? What is the reason? It is a upsert method. It is a upsert method. First, it will check the record is available or not with the given data. If the record is already available with the given data, it will update the record. If the record is not available with the given data, then it will insert that record. So I told you that yesterday, save method, save all methods are upsert methods. They will be used for updating the record as well as inserting the record. Go to database, check the table. Earlier, there is only one record with 101. Now run the query. Now you can see second record, Rani record, 102 ID. 102 ID. Now, let us see here. For the same Rani record, I will change just rank. Rank 3214 now. I will keep rank everything as 1111. 4 ones I kept for the rank. Now, Rani record is already available. Now I am just changing the rank for the Rani. I am calling the save method. So this time, it will insert the new record or it will update the existing record. Rani record is already inserted. I'm calling the save method. Is it going to insert the new record? Is it going to update the existing record now? Will update, huh? Are you sure? Are you sure it is going to update the record? Are you sure it is going to update the record? Why it is going to update? Because with the given primary key, already one record is available. Okay, it is going to check the record is already available or not. It is going to check the record is available or not. Record is already available. So it is going to first execute the select query. It identified that record is already available. It is going to update that record. So one select query will execute, one update query will execute. So earlier when I insert the Rani for first time, only select query and insert query. After select query, directly insert query. Now observe, Rani record already available. Rank in the database. What is the rank available? 3214 rank available for Rani in the database. Now what is the rank I am setting? 1111 rank I am setting. Right click, run as boot application. Record is done. Select query is executed. After select query, insert query available or update query available? Come on, guys. After select query, insert query available or update query is available? Update query. Can you believe Save method is used for inserting plus updating? Practically proved or not? Practically it proved. Save method can be used for inserting the record as well as updating the record. Insert plus update called upsert. Any method which is performing insert plus update operation, that is called as upsert methods. Are you clear? Suppose now, if I am going to give the ID as 103 and I will give the name as Ashok and I'm giving the rank as 1122, gender male. Now I will execute this program. Can you tell me how many queries will execute in the background and which queries will execute in the background? Can you tell me how many queries will execute in the background and which queries will execute in the background? Guys, come on. How many queries will execute in the background and which queries will execute in the background? Only one query will execute, two queries will execute, two queries. What are those two queries now? Select and insert or select and update? Two queries. Select insert or select update? Select and insert. Why select and insert? Why select and insert, guys? 103 record available or not available? 103 record not available. So what it is going to do? It is going to insert that. All right. Run this. Check in the database first. Select star from student details. No record available with 103. Run this program. Run as Java Spring Boot application. See the console. See the queries which it is executing. First select query to identify the record based on the given primary key value. Record is already not available. So it is executing insert query, inserted the data. Now, suppose, for example, rank instead of 1122, I will give the rank as 1133. Now tell me how many queries will execute if I run this program? How many queries will execute if I run this program? Two queries. What are the two queries? Select and update. Why select and update? Why select and update? Why select and update? Already available. Okay. Good. Run this program. Check that. Boot application. Select query and update query. Now check this. Select star from student details. Select query and update query executed. Rank updated from 1122 to 1133. For example, I'm not modifying anything, guys. I will just rerun the program. Then can you tell me what will happen? I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to change anything. I will just rerun the same program. How many queries will execute? One query or two queries? What are those two queries? Some people are not responding. I think they joined from mobile. Don't join from the mobile. You have to join from the laptop. I'm not changing anything. The same record is already available in the database. I'm rerunning the program. Can you guess? Select insert, select update, or only select? Come on. Select update, select insert. How can you say select insert? Why it will insert again? Already 103 available now. Select update will execute or only select will execute? Come on guys, respond. Run this. Run as boot application. I have not changed anything. I'm just rerunning. I'm just rerunning. The beauty, only select query executed because data JPA compared. Our record, database record, same. No need to update anything. Understand the beauty of this. Why it is not executed? Insert query, already record presented. Why it is not executed update query? Whatever the data is available in our object, the data is available in the table. Both are same. No need to update anything. Are we writing the logic for that? Or JPA is taking care of that? JPA taking care of that. JPA comparing our object entity class data with the database record. Both are same. No need to update anything. Can I say JPA is smart than programmers? Yes. Simple. I'm calling the save method. Do I have any logic in my repository? My repository is just a dummy. My entity just map it to table. So as a programmer, are we writing any logic to perform the database operations, or JPA is taking care of everything now? So many people asked me, sir, what is the difference between Hibernate and JPA? I think today you got the clarity. Today you got the clarity. Do you need to do anything? Do you need to do anything now? No session factory, no transactions, nothing. You just create an interface, then play the game. No need of any transactions, no need of session factory, no need of session, no need of connection, no need of driver manager, no need of statement, prepare statement, callable statement, nothing. You just create one interface, extends from CRUD repository. Then get the repository object, call the whatever the method you want. Now I have inserted the record, right? By using save method. We understood how save method is working internally. Save method is called as upsert method. With the given data, with the given primary key, if record is already available, it will update the record. With the given primary key, if the record not available, it will insert the record. If the same record, if you are trying to give for the JPA, it will not do anything. It will just check the record available. Are you stupid? Same data. With the same data, there is a record available. I will not do anything. There is no use because whatever the data you are giving me for the save method, with the same data, already there is a record in the database. I will not insert duplicate record. That is how JPA is matured, and it is thinking, and it is acting. It is performing the operation with its brain. JPA having brain. JPA is intelligent. Blindly, it is not doing insertion or updations. It is checking some conditions, then only it is taking the action. All right. You got the clarity how JPA is working? What is the power of JPA? You got the clarity on the power of data JPA, features of data JPA. Do we need to write anything to perform the CRUD operations now? Or we just need to call the methods? Do we need to write any logic to perform the CRUD operations? Do we need to write any logic to perform the CRUD operations, or JPA will take care? JPA will take care. We just need to call the methods. Now, I want to retrieve a record, man. Save method is completed. I want to retrieve a record. So which method is available to retrieve a record? Which method is available to retrieve a record? Find by ID. Which method is available to retrieve a record? Find by ID is available. Okay. I'm giving this code for you. Setters, getters, I'm not giving you in the notes. You can type that. This is my repository interface. Writing the repository annotation is also optional. Okay. And these are my YML file properties. You need to configure your data source properties. So this is my application.yml file. Okay. So this is my repository interface. Student repository.java. And this is my entity class, that is student.java. I'm using this as a entity class. This is my repository. There is no logic in the repository. I'm just extending from the repository. This is my YML file and this is my start class. In the Spring Boot start class, I'm getting the repository bean and I'm calling the repository method. So this is my start class. Inside the start class, I'm getting the repository bean object and I'm calling the method of that. So when I call the method, internally it is performing all the operations. So do we need to write our own logic to perform the CRUD operations, or we just need to call the JPA methods? Okay, guys. Fine. Perfect. Now I want to retrieve a record. So can you tell me any method is available to retrieve a record based on the primary key? Is there any method available to retrieve a record based on the primary key? Find by ID. Okay. Okay, good. Student repo dot find by ID. So I'm passing ID as 101. I'm passing ID as 101. This method will return optional object. Okay. If optional is introduced in Java 1.8 version, optional dot is present, system.out.println, optional dot get student object. Student object does not have a toString method. To print the content of the object, let me override toString method. In this class, I'm overriding the toString method to print the content of the object. Now, so optional is the parameter, optional is the return type of the find by ID. It is used to avoid null pointer exceptions in the project. If optional dot is present, if the record is present, then only I'm going to get that record. I will print that record on the console. I'm calling find by ID. Save method is used to insert the record. Find by ID method is used to retrieve the record. So run as boot application. I'm running my Spring Boot application. So here, check it. Is it really retrieving the record or not? Check the console. Yes, select query is executed and I'm able to retrieve the record. It is printing on the console. 101 record is a Raja record. Raja record does not have a gender. That's why it is a null value. In the database itself, gender is not available. We are able to retrieve the Raja record and we are printing that Raja record on the console. So do you understand what is the purpose of save method and find by ID? Do you understand what is the purpose of save method and find by ID method? Yeah. So can you tell me what is the purpose of this show SQL? Can you guys tell me what is the purpose of show SQL? To show SQL queries on the console. Whenever I call find by ID method, it is executing one select query. That select query, it is printing on the console. When I call save method, it is executing select query plus insert query. Those queries will print on the console. Show SQL property true will print the queries on the console. What are the queries that are generated by data JPA? Those queries will be printed on the console. What is the purpose of DDL auto update? Can you guys tell me what is the purpose of DDL auto update? What is the meaning of that? If the tables are not available, dynamically tables also will be created. Dynamically table also created. What is the purpose of this data source now? What is the purpose of this data source now? Come on, guys. What is the purpose of data source now? To establish connection with the database. To create the connection pool. Who is managing the connections? My repository is managing the connections, or data JPA managing the connections? Data JPA managing the connections. Are you clear? You got the clarity? Can you practice this first application, guys? It's very, very important to understand the internals of JPA, because a lot of stuff is taken care by JPA. We are just creating an interface and we are calling the methods. Then JPA is creating the queries internally and it is executing the queries and giving the results. Right. So today we practice just two methods. What are those two methods? Save method, find by ID method. Similarly, can we retrieve all the records from the table? Can we retrieve all the records from the table? Guys, can we retrieve all the records from the table? How to retrieve all the records from the table? Which method is available? Come on, guys. Find all. Oh, good. Yeah, you remember. Let's call that method now. Student repository dot find all. What is the return type? Iterable object. That means list of records. List of records we are getting. Find all. Find all dot for each student record. I want to print on the console. System.out.println. Okay, guys. Or else I can go for find all dot for each. Find all dot for each system.out method reference. That's it. It is used to print all the records on the console. Java 8 features I'm using. Okay. Now I'm calling find all method. What is the purpose of the find all? It is used to retrieve all the records. All the records I want to print on the console. To print the records on the console, I'm using for each method with the method reference. If you don't want to go for method reference, you can go for lambda expression also. Find all dot for each student I want to print on the console. System.out.println of yes, like this. So this is with the method reference. This is with lambda. Both are used for same purpose now, to print all the records on the console. Let me execute it. Run as boot application. See the records. Find all method. Retrieving all the records. A select query should execute to retrieve all the records. Wow. Select query is executed. Student 101, 102, 103. Are we able to retrieve all the records and print on the console? So what is the purpose of find all method? What is the purpose of find all method? It is used to retrieve all the records from the table. How I am printing all the records on the console? By using for each method with the lambda expression. If you don't want to go for lambda, you can go for method reference also. Anything is fine. You can use either lambda or you can go for method reference also. Perfect. I have given that in the notes. Here it is used to insert the record, retrieve the single record with the primary key, and here retrieve all the records and display on the console. Save method, find by ID, find all. Now I want to delete one record, guys, by using primary key. I want to delete 103 record. Can you tell me how can I delete one record based on the primary key? How to delete one record by using primary key? Delete by ID. Perfect. Student repo dot delete by ID. 103 record I am giving. System.out.println delete the record. Record deleted. System.out.println record delete. So do I need to write anything in the repository? Already ready-made methods available. Do I need to write anything on my own? Ready-made methods are available. Ready-made methods are available. Okay, guys, let's run this. Before running, check in the database. Select star from student details. 103 record available, Ashok record available. I want to delete it. I'm calling delete by ID with 103. Right click, run as boot application. Now see the JPA behavior when I call the delete by ID. When I call the delete by ID, see the behavior. Perfect. First it executed the select query If the record is available, then only it is deleting the record. JPA is very intelligent. When I ask the JPA to delete a record, first it is trying to select the record from the table. If the record is available, then only it is going to delete that record. Now go to database and check this. Select star from student details, 101, 102. 103 record is not available. For example, I'm giving the ID as 503. Is that record available in the database or that record is not available in the database? 503 record is available in the database or not available in the database? Then what JPA will do now? Run as boot application. I'm giving a primary key which is not available in the database. I'm giving a primary key which is not available in the database. It is throwing exception. Right? Boss, it is selected that record. The record is not available. Then you are trying to ask to delete that 503 not exist. Boss, the record is not available in the database. Empty result set data exception. Whatever the record you are asking me to delete, that record is not available in the database. How to avoid this exception? I will call this method if the record is really available. I will execute this method only if the record is present in the database. How can we check the record is present in the database or not? How can we check the record is present in the database or not? If student repo dot exists by ID 503, student repo exists by ID of 503. So what is the purpose of exists by ID? What is the purpose of exists by ID? Come on guys, what is the purpose of exists by ID? Can we avoid the exception now? Can we avoid the exception now? What is the purpose of exists by ID? To check whether record is available or not. If the record is available, it will return true. If the record is not available, it will return false value. Exists by ID. If the record is present in the database, then only delete that record. Now run this program. Run as boot application. Take this. Are we able to handle the exception now? Are we able to handle the exception now? If the record is present, then only I'm calling delete method. If the record is not present, I will not call the delete method. Can you tell me the difference between find by ID and exist by ID? Guys, can you tell me the difference between find by ID and exist by ID? What is the difference between find by ID and exist by ID? Find by ID will retrieve the record and will give you the record. Exist by ID will check the record. Okay. Can we use optional class? It is not our method. Exist by ID is not our method. Predefined method, predefined return type. We can't use it. Okay. Now I want to check total how many records available in the table, guys. I want to check total how many records available in the table. Is there any method available? Count method is available. Student repo dot count. What it will give me? Count. Total number of records available in the table. Records count. Records count it is going to provide me. That is count. I'm calling the count method. Run as boot application. Records count. Total 2 records available in the table. Records count 2. Are we able to get the count of the records? Yes, we are able to get the records count. Records count is 2. 2 records available in the database table. Can you see repository interface dummy? We are extending from CRUD repository. So the complete game is playing by our repository, and it is playing by JPA in the background. Who is playing the show? What about student repository? It is just dummy. It is just used to call the CRUD repository methods dummy. The complete game controlling by JPA in the background. Okay, guys. Can you practice the remaining methods also? So I have covered save method. I have covered find by ID method, and I covered find all method, and I covered delete by ID method, and I covered exist by ID, and I covered count method. These methods we have experimented. Can you experiment on the remaining methods? How to delete multiple records, how to insert multiple records, how to retrieve set of records. Can you do that experiment before coming to tomorrow's session? What does Hikari pool will do? Hikari pool will give you connections which are required for data JPA. That is a JDBC concept, connection pooling. Hikari pool will create the connection pool